How do? How do? How y'all doing out there, you Cowboy fans everywhere? I know last night was difficult for you. I get it. I get it. You're not going to have an undefeated season after all. I reckon this is a real miserable day for you. But I got some news for you. There's still hope. There's still hope. You're still ahead in the NFC East. You're not going to be perfect, okay? But that doesn't mean you're not going to have a winning season. Guess what? It doesn't matter. The Cowboys lost, all right? That's a sign of things to come. I tried to tell you. Let me lasso you in on it, right on up in here. I hope you'll be all right as the season progresses. But in case you don't, there's always first take waiting for you. How about them Cowboys? First take, man.
Please tell me, why did the Cowboys lose this game?
Oh, well, first of all, there's a lot of reasons that go into it. I just want to make sure that we understand that. I mean, after all, when you got your star running back that's close to $100 million, $50 million in guarantees, by the way, and he averages less than 2 yards a carry, something's wrong with that picture. I just think it's important to point that out. The other thing is that you got a guy like Dak Prescott obviously looking to make major dollars, and when the running back is not running the ball effectively, particularly when you sit around and you look at him and you say, hey, this is the reason why Dak Prescott was successful to begin with, and then we walk into this season and the first 3 games against subpar competition, what happens is Dak Prescott airs it out, looks great, and obviously everybody's talking about him as an MVP candidate. And then the second you go up against a relatively respectable team with a respectable defense that neutralizes the running game, and you got an opportunity to turn it around and air it out, a.k.a. Kellerman, the offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, your head coach with Dak Prescott, and you fail to do so, it's a problem. Now, we all know, in all seriousness, that Dak Prescott can ball, but last night was just, it wasn't impressive. He missed a lot of throws. He had a couple of nice throws, but at the end of the day, he wasn't as impressive. 22 of 33, 223 yards. That's a relatively pedestrian performance. The Saints defense showed up. They pressured him. I particularly love how they went at him near the tail end of the game. Obviously, when Teddy Bridgewater foolishly took that sack for a 16-yard loss, forcing the Saints to punt as opposed to kicking the field goal to really seal the deal. The Dallas Cowboys had a last chance, but Dak Prescott got sacked on first down. And then from that point forward, the blitzes that was called to take the ball out of his hands, not to let him wind up and throw Hail Marys or whatever, I got to give the Saints a lot of credit for that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. Ezekiel Elliott wasn't impressive. As a result, it seemed to have a contagious effect. Dak Prescott wasn't impressive. The defense showed up and handled their business. They kept the Saints out of the end zone all evening long. You got to give credit where credit is due in that regard. But in the end, when we look at the Dallas Cowboys, we expected them to be potent offensively, at least potent enough. All you needed was a couple of touchdowns. You'd have won this game. They couldn't do it because Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, really Ezekiel Elliott first, and then Dak Prescott couldn't get it going. And we see once again what the Achilles heel is. If you neutralize Ezekiel Elliott, then obviously, potentially, you can neutralize Dak Prescott. That's at least what we saw last night.
The reason the Cowboys lost this game is the New Orleans Saints. That's why they lost the game. And as you would say, and you, who have been so critical of the Saints front office in recent years, until about maybe last year you started laying off a little bit, talking about they need to get Drew Brees a defense, and they're over-reliant on Drew Brees. I was
right until last year.
Now it's time to give Mickey Loomis some credit, right? Finally. Like, let's give him credit now because, recall, he shows up in New Orleans, you turn around, they win the Super Bowl. Then Bountygate hits not long after, right? And Bountygate, to me, was always nonsense. The fact is, it's a full contact sport. You can incentivize your players to knock someone senseless as long as they do it within the rules. If you think that makes them a better team, I never agreed with the findings about it, philosophically, what they had against the Saints in Bountygate. Nevertheless, that's what happened. Remember what happened? They got second-round picks taken away. You know what happens to most well, Belichick can do it. Let's leave Belichick out of this. Other than Belichick, any team that gets high draft picks in consecutive years taken away, they have to compensate. It may affect them in some way. for several years. We're now past that point. And by the way, they were good throughout. It's not like they were bad. Mickey Loomis has put together a team, both sides of the ball. Think about yesterday. Why couldn't Dallas get that passing game going? Part of it was not just that the run defense is stout for New Orleans, and that's why I like them more than a lot of the other teams last year. A lot of the high-octane offenses last year couldn't stop the run. New Orleans could stop the run, but did you see Lattimore? They have a secondary. Everywhere you look, they have playmakers and high level of talent. Both sides of the ball, you got to give Loomis credit. Now, even Kamara, you know who Kamara, if memory serves, had the highest Wonderlic of all those running backs, right? He's a very cerebral player, not only lightning fast. And that's the point I really want to get to as to why the Saints. So I give Loomis the credit. Why have the Saints won? This is a team with character. This is a team with character. You could see when they go on the road and beat Seattle after Drew Brees goes down and then defend home against the Cowboys, who didn't allow a touchdown. That's a team with character. And one of the reasons, Stephen A., and then I'll give it right back to you, one of the reasons you have Teddy Bridgewater on your team is he's not a superstar. He'll never be a superstar. But he's a very good backup quarterback. He's just the kind of guy. Well, what happens if something happens to our superstar quarterback? You need a guy off the bench that can keep the ship steady. He's now 2-0. Seattle on the road and the Cowboys.
You know what? He doesn't deserve that 2-0 record. Not after taking that sack. That's a big deal that he took that sack.
Yeah, it was a bad sack.
An idiotic play on his part, and I like him, but an idiotic play on his part. You simply cannot allow that to happen. Give Michael Thomas credit as well for being the security blanket that he was. He was between the corners all night long. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.